Pax Day is not our world, IRL, Earth. It is not a copy of medieval Europe, geographically or when it comes to countries and locations. It is one of the endless possible parallel creations in a universe ruled by the divinity the medieval mind believed was real. A world that is pressured from all sides by the enemies of the divine and contains all sorts of beings hiding from the divine, the enemy below, or both. So for my interpretation, the game is inspired by our timeline, but with the developer's own twist. A world where players could live out their lives in safety, build, grow, harvest, take care of their animals, and go on adventures without having to battle other players at every step. There is a need for the world to be dynamic, and in order for players to survive, there had to be conflict, with the destruction and violent ambitions ensues. In a world that is surrounded by evil beings and ambitious people remaining under the watchful eye of the divine. Essentially, they're trying to build a game where it's not solely revolved around combat, but like in the real world, they want to promote and support people who just want to get by with an honest day's work. An early medieval world where, as people believed, heavenly forces were real and present, and the legions of darkness were also real and present and actively trying to corrupt the world from outside and within. In addition to that, you had the creatures of ancient myths still around, trying their best not to get squished by the supernatural powers at B. If you've read any history books or even fantasy novels, you'll have a pretty good idea of what people would have been like in the Middle Ages. As a very bad example, the typical belief that a woman would cast curses and therefore was a witch. So they're taking that as a base and building it up from there. This will have a flow-on effect, impacting things like clothing, gear that you or NPCs would wear, for example. They use the term low fantasy when describing their game, and this means that they're not looking at inventing anything new. Why rebuild the wheel, right? They just want to take the core of what we have and alter it a bit. Pax Day is pulling inspiration from all the different backgrounds: divinity, demonology, angelology, Celtic myths, the Calavera, the dark fables from Rus, Anatolian and Greek stories from antiquity, the amazing flora of Persian and Indian mythology, and more. So it's got quite a rich history and culture, all being dropped into this bowl, mixed around, whisked around, and then there you go, Pax Day. Past is theirs, but the future is yours. It sums it up. Pax Day provides the world and the sandbox element. Now it's up to you as a player to go from there. Steeped in lore, mystery, and purpose. The idea of the dungeons is to be difficult. They don't want you to be able to walk in with your standard 5 people and kill mobs, then move on to the next boss. You have to figure out what level is suitable for the dungeon, how many people you need, the compositions, the directions, nope, there's no map to guide you, and etc. There's no promise of greatness or amazing loot at the end either, so you're taking that risk yourself. They really want to challenge players to think hard about these sort of things. In terms of the story behind the dungeons, each one will be different. Is this the monster's hive of 1,000 of years? Or did they recently move in due to threat of eradication from previous homeland and need to rebuild? There will be multiple ways to learn about the past of Pax Day. You can check out their website, YouTube channel for bits and pieces like concept art. There may be hints through their forums or Discord. The full spectrum of how lore is revealed in the game is something that will be evolving as we implement features that are planned pertaining to that. If you're really interested in the lore, if you get a chance to play the alpha or when the game comes out, pay attention to the NPC names, descriptions, names of places, old structures. Also, there will be books, scraps of paper, so make sure you read them. A good idea would be to keep your personal novel, book, or in a Word document, then piece them together. Just a suggestion. You will notice neat details about the books in the game that ties into medieval times in the real world. Books were a treasure of information, so if you could read, you would be a presence of great knowledge. Some books and texts were even believed to have supernatural qualities or divine magic. Wink. Developers didn't reveal too much when it comes to magic or the lore behind it. However, they have dropped a few hints. Magic needs to be viewed as part of existence. It needs to be logical, players to discover and experiment with it. When the world of Pax Dei was made, spirit power was used to extract the elements of creation, earth, water, air, and fire from the ether and manipulate them to make everything we see today. The divine gave spirit to some of these things that were made, and thereby sparked life, a magical force in itself, unique to its creation. Everything that lives has within it an element of spirit, as well as the elements of creation. It should be noted that some beings were gifted a stronger spirit than others. The spirit element can be observed, communicated to, and manipulated by the divine, and this is the basis of what is called divine magic, i.e., divine magic uses spirit to manipulate the elements of creation, tends to bring energy into the natural world. Demonic magic is also spirit magic, driven by the same mechanics, nature, and elements as divine magic. But that is where all comparisons end. This type of magic originates in the desire to outdo the divine and be larger, greater, more detailed, and more impressive. Sounds pretty good. Demonic magic is also a selfish force, i.e., demonic magic uses the spirit to manipulate the elements of creation and tends to draw energy from the natural world. Druidic magic uses life force to manipulate the elements of creation. It does not employ spirit. It is not detectable either by divine or demonic magic. Shamanic magic uses spirit beings with the natural world to manipulate life force directly. It has no direct effects on the elements of creation. So, brief read, we have divine magic, we have demonic magic, druidic magic, so we have nature, fauna, flora being used that is not detectable by divine or demonic magic, and then we have shamanic magic. So I believe, going off historical examples, earth, wind, fire, water. In line with the past being ours and the future yours, a lot of old names remain in the world from centuries past. Names of old kingdoms, named after important events that took place there, but most of them are names with ancient times, and no one really knows what they mean anymore, even though there are plenty of theories. Most of the heartlands, rivers, lakes, and mountains will have names. Significant places, holy sites, major dungeons, and other historic sites will usually have a name, either on the map or hidden away somewhere in the game. The name of the world is a common name for everyone who has ever lived there. Some call it Earth, others refer to it as the creation. Those who guard the forest talk about Duenu, hopefully I'm saying that right, and yet others talk about Rex Mundi's deception. The main region during the alpha is called Gallia, and it is divided into several heartland provinces such as Meri and Keris, among others. Players will be naming what they make: farms, villages, towns, outposts, castles, or even lands consolidated under large player alliances. And yes, of course, there is a chance some people will come up with terrible names, but the upside to that is that you will, to that extent, know them before you even meet them. Judge a book by its cover, huh? Without the devs going into too much detail, they have provided a part of ancient text written around the time when the world of Pax Dei was comprehensively described for the first time. For almost a century now since the slaying of the Lost Redeemer, no sanctified emissaries of the divine have shown themselves on earth. No prophets, no redeemers, and no new saints have been revealed, and only the occasional rumors of far-away manifestations of the divine have been reported. The seat of the Holy See remains empty. All the great kingdoms of the Heartlands have crumbled and lie in waste and ruin. The fabled monasteries founded by Aurel, the sixth Redeemer, have been robbed and deserted, and the great paladin strongholds of Armozel, the fifth Redeemer, have been lost. Only legends remain, rumoring of their whereabouts. Has the divine forgotten her children? No one knows for sure, but what is obvious to all is that Pax Dei, the protection of the divine, has shrunk more and more, leaving ever larger swaths of land open to the ever-growing darkness creeping in from the rimlands, and the agents of the Dark Lord grow bolder every year. In fact, the only civilized place that still stands is reportedly Axis Mundi itself, or so we hope. No one has been let in there since the murder of Loyus, and besides that, a handful of nearby settlements. Creation is crying out for salvation, crying out for able bodies and minds to stand against the encroaching darkness, to pick up the banner of light, and once more drive the forces of evil whence they came. In order to accomplish that, old fields must be broken anew, trees cleared, roads rebuilt, villages erected, and industries created. The lost wisdom of centuries past must be rediscovered, relics and holy sites unearthed, churches built, and the will of the divine once again transformed into proud bastions of faith, both at home and in the furthest reaches of the world. Sage's Annals, the final chapter. Thank you everybody for watching that long video. For those of you who are interested in lore, I think this is a great insight into what the lore of Pax Dei is and what it can be. If you like this video, subscribe, like, drop me a comment, tell me exactly what I can be doing better, or if you have something you're more interested in, I can definitely do a video on that. Take care, be safe, and be kind.